have something. But lastly and finally, you have to release what you have to the Savior. This story wasn't looking good before verse 11. This story wasn't looking too good before verse 11. But verse 11 is the Christological climax in the text. Verse 11 is the anointed apex in the text. Verse 11 is the heavenly height of the text. Verse 11 is the providential pinnacle of the text. Because prior to verse 11, they had little. But after verse 11, they had leftovers. Prior to verse 11, they had a little bit. After verse 11, they had 12 baskets of leftovers. So the question is, what happened in verse 11? Well, I want to tell you, but I want y'all to come down to the hillside with me. We're loading the buses of my spiritual imagination. Come on, y'all. Let's go on a quick trip. A blast in the past. We're going down to the hillside of Bethsaida. And guess what? When you get there, you're going to see a nice lake, sparkling and bright, luminous and beautiful. That's the Sea of Galilee. But come over. Don't you see the crowd? On the hillside, 5,000 men. Yeah, Jesus made them sit down. That's a good Men's Day sermon, but that's another sermon for another day. The men are sitting down. The women and children playing, laughing, kickball, having a good time. But guess what? That little boy who brought those 2 pieces of catfish and those 5 red lobster garlic cheddar biscuits. I just believe in my imagination, just imagine with me, there was a sweet mother like one of the deaconess there. And they said, baby, we're not going to send you home with anything less than you came with. So since we have 12 baskets left over, take your mama a few to-go trays back home. Can't you see them loading up all the 4 to-go boxes? There's catfish, there's brim, there's crappie, there's some tilapia, there's swordfish, there's the rainbow trout. Can't you see it? I'm talking about fried, baked, broiled, grilled. Popeye's biscuits, Kentucky Fried Chicken biscuits, Church's honey glazed biscuits. Y'all can tell I'm hungry, forgive me. And you know what that sweet deaconess did? She didn't just hand him a bag and tell him going home. No, she tied that little knot at the top of the bag. She said, baby, go on home. Can't you see him? He's skipping down the road with his to-go basket. And that little boy said, I can't wait to tell my mama about my day. He just a skipping and a hopping, just smiling, just happy thinking about his day. And finally, he arrived back home, kicked off his dusty sandals. He said, Mama, come down to the kitchen. It was already late in the evening. The moon was on her nightly duty. The stars were looking like debutantes, luminous and bright in the night sky on the black ebony carpet of the night sky. It was evening time. It's nighttime. So Mama already had her house coat on. She walked down the house, walked down the steps, said, baby, I know you didn't go steal no food today. He said, no, Mama, not today. That was yesterday. I don't steal food every day, Mom. He said, no, Mom, check this out, Mom. Today, I went to the city to see the sights, and I ended up seeing the main attraction. I met a man named Jesus, and he was looking for some food for the crowd. And I gave him what I had. She said, so you're telling me all you did was put your little snack in the hands of Jesus? He said yes, because whenever you put your little bit in the hands of Jesus, he will work it out. And is there anybody around Varick who can testify, I put what I had in his hands, and he did dry my tears. He did make a way out of no way. If your family is struggling, you ought to put it in his hands. If your finances are struggling, you ought to put it in his hands. If the church is struggling, you ought to put it in his hands, because time is filled with swift transitions. None on earth unmoved can stand, but build your hopes on things eternal and hold to God's unchanging hands. Hold to his hands, God's unchanging hands. Shake a neighbor's hand like you're going to shake it off and say, neighbor, you ought to try to put it all in his hands. I put it all in his hands. What did you put? I put this and that. I put it all in his hands. I put this and that. I put it all. I put it all in his hands. I put this and that. Anybody here ever tried the Lord? Ain't he all right? Won't he make a way? Won't he supply your needs? Say it. Say it. Say yeah.